coming into playoffs, I think we've diversified a lot. Obviously, we've shown that we can play for top in the past. Today, we showed that we can play for bot as well. Yoyo can play ganking junglers. Like, we have a lot of diversity, and that's something that I'm really happy with.
Hi everyone, it's Tom reporting from the LEC Spring Split. With me here is Mac, the coach of Mad Lions, who just 3-1'd Rogue in the upper bracket of the LEC Playoffs. Mac, that was an incredible performance from you guys, so I cannot imagine you being anything but proud at the moment.
Very, very, very proud, especially because playing from behind and coming back and having like really strong mental is something that we've been working on a lot in scrims. It's been like a big worry of mine over the course of the year that we've always had these insane early games, but when we fall behind, the game tends to just like explode. Early on, we had I think we have one of the fastest game times. I think Fnatic's is faster, but for the first half of the split, like every time we got behind, the game was just like completely over. And today we managed to come back with like a full scaling comp from like 5k behind, and then they had 4 dragons, and like they just played it so patiently, and they moved the map so well that that's like the most gratifying thing that happened today, is that like that progress that we've made and the work that we put in is so visible.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I do want to take it a step back, because you did mention that Spring Split performance where you guys finished 10-8, and I think even though there was overall progress, it was still almost a 50% win rate. You know, it wasn't a standout performance. So heading into the weekend and knowing that you were going to play on stage, how was the preparation? How did you make sure, okay, guys, we're going to be in a new environment? How did that all come down?
I think a lot of it was just about mindset. The thing is I could tell kind of very early on that we were going to be fine on stage, because we were super, like, our players just have a lot of fun all the time. They're always laughing, always making jokes. Even in the last game, like we kill them all, can't finish the game. Nash is coming up. The game's probably going to be ended at that Nash fight, and like they're like making jokes and memeing in comms. They're like, oh my god, you guys are actual psychopaths. Like, you're actually crazy. And yeah, that's kind of the mentality and the atmosphere that they have. And I've been really worried that we were going to have that atmosphere in scrims and then like not be able to kind of translate onto stage, or that, you know, we wouldn't get enough like serious practice and things like this. But if they're going to do it in scrims and on stage, then it's fine. So yeah, that was the main thing in terms of mentality. Aside from that, like strategy wise and kind of game sense and progress, we felt really confident coming in. But yeah, I wouldn't say that we did anything special to prepare. It's more just about the mentality that we go in with, game day expectations, and the narrative that we set, and the way that we respond to wins and losses in the series, you know. Like, I literally didn't celebrate anything, I think, this series until literally the last game, because I never wanted us to be in the mindset that, like, you know, we're going to win this game and then we're going to win the series or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So just very much taking it game by game.
Yeah, and still, you say you didn't do anything special. You have one rookie on your roster, obviously, Oyoya, who has seemed very down to earth, very focused, very serious. So I would not imagine him being someone who's going to be massively upset by playing on a stage, but there was not anything to be sure to walk through with him as well.
After the first game, Yoyo came off the stage and was like, I am killing their bot lane next game. I am diving bot. Have the wave ready for me, Kazi. Like, this guy has no fear, which is amazing, because that's exactly what I want from my players.
Yeah, I can imagine so. So walking through the series, you mentioned after that first game, obviously, it's always an obstacle getting through a first game that you lose and getting back on track, but your players are very easily brushing this off.
Yeah, for sure. After the first game, we were a bit shaken because we got a lot of champions that we were really like big on. Kind of, we got everything we wanted from the first draft, you know, and it didn't go to plan. But normally I would change something up at that point and change the draft, but we decided to kind of run it back because we really felt like it was just down to execution in the first game. Like, Azir got super far ahead early because they got like the entire first tower in the Herald, and it was just grim from that point. Like, no one could contest the Azir. So yeah, I was a bit worried after the first game, especially because I'm always worried if we lose and then go in and play the same thing again, because I feel like it's not the right kind of mental state to be in. But our players were really, really insistent that this was what they wanted. And that's a huge
Had a
credit
good
to them as
feeling.
well, to have
Yeah.
that confidence. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
their intuition seems to have been right, because it did indeed pay off. You mentioned the champion picks. That's also something I want to touch on. We saw you play the Jinx. We saw you guys stick to Orianna a lot. Thresh on Kaiser, the Alistar in the bot lane have all been very promising. So how do you feel about your position in the meta right? Do you feel comfortable? Because that is something as well that maybe during the regular split you guys were playing around with, trying to see what works and what wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm quite happy with what we've done in terms of growth, because I think coming into playoffs, we were a team that had like one very specific playstyle. We played really hard for early game. We played really hard for kind of mid jungle, and then we snowballed games from there. And obviously there are exceptions, but generally speaking, that was the kind of rule. And coming into playoffs, I think we've diversified a lot. Obviously, we've shown that we can play for top in the past. Today, we showed that we can play for bot as well. Yoyo can play ganking junglers. Like, we have a lot of diversity, and that's something that I'm really happy with, because I want us to be a super adaptable team. I want us to be able to adapt to different opponents properly, because I'm the type of coach where I want to be super flexible in terms of the way that we draft, and I want to be able to like come out of a game and be like, okay, we lost this game, flip the table, let's change the entire draft completely, let's completely play a different style to the one before. And today we showed that we could do that, right? We played ganking junglers, we played farming junglers, we played engage comps, we played front to back comps, like we played the TF style with where Armut got super fed, right? Like we played the Aatrox game where Armut was kind of the big carry in team fights in a way. Like we played a bit of everything today, and I think we adapted really well to what the series demanded of us, like the series meta. So yeah, I think that's also credit to the players and the rest of our staff as well. I think Cass and Pad have been huge driving forces on that, of identifying, okay, this is an area that we're weak on, and this is how I think we should improve it, and then we go and drill it and drill it and drill it and drill it, and that's just good preparation and good practice and good training. So
yeah, and you say you want to be a team that has to pivot. It did feel, as a viewer at least, that Rogue was the one who was actually not really pivoting until in game 4, where they really spiced things up. So from your perspective and heading into that game, what do you think you had to pin them down on throughout the split? They've looked very good, very strong. Overall, their macro play obviously is very good, and the scaling comps is just something they're very good at. So heading into the weekend, what did you think? Okay, here's what we need to pin them down on.
I mean, I think we came in showing a very different style to what we played previously. Obviously, we played like a lot for kind of a hyper carry ADC in 3 games. Even in the 3rd game, we had a Vayne, right, who's a hyper carry ADC. And I think they just didn't anticipate it at all, and they didn't adapt quickly enough. Like in the first 3 games, we'd smashed their bot tower at like 10 minutes. I think something like, or maybe it was later, but I think we took their bot tower in like every single game, and that's not something they adapted to until the last game, which is too late. In the last game, they picked a super strong bot lane, which is, that's good adaptation, I think, from them. But yeah, I'm not sure in terms of what exactly happened with Rogue, but I think that they perhaps weren't quick enough to realize how strong the Jinx Thresh was, which, I mean, to be fair, they won the first game against it, but like from my perspective, when we came off stage, the Jinx Thresh was the thing that I desperately wanted to keep.
Yeah, many people were saying
that
already looked very strong in that first game, so that's not something you needed to change.
Yeah, so I was a bit surprised when they didn't ban either Jinx or Thresh in the second game, and they gave it to us. But I mean, it's also fair enough to them to be confident and stick to your guns with. Clearly, like, both teams came into the series thinking like Senna Cho'Gath is like our god tier pick, and if we get Senna Cho'Gath, then we're winning. And we came in wanting to play Jinx Thresh, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's fair enough to them in a sense.
Now, looking forward, obviously you advance now in the upper bracket, much like you did last spring, but now you'll be facing G2, who last spring you knocked down, and obviously this is a matchup many people are going to be looking forward to because of that narrative of the playoff meetup. Yesterday on PGL, I heard Grab say as well that they've actually been very impressed with how you guys have, improved, I guess, from the regular split performance, how well you guys are playing currently. So how do you feel about meeting G2 next week?
I'm just excited. I love playing G2. From like a fun perspective in terms of the way that both teams approach the game, from a learning perspective in terms of like playing against another team that is so good and has so much pedigree and so much experience and so much creativity, and also from like the perspective of actually going up against Grabs, who is someone that I really respect. I think Grabs is a fantastic coach. and I always have a lot of fun drafting against him, and I think he's an amazing sportsman as well, in that sense. So yeah, I love playing against G2. It's always so much fun, and my god, if people could see the pre-game chat, it's it's
So,
just
sometimes some of those make their way to Twitter. Yeah.
yeah. It's a real war zone in there.
Yeah. All right, Mac. Finally, your players have performed super well. I am gonna ask you to maybe pick a favorite, like who of your players were you like, wow, you stepped up so massively this week. Maybe you didn't expect it, maybe you did expect it, but overall your team has played very well. But who stood out to you?
I think obviously lots of different people had different moments of brilliance in today's series, but I think realistically, I would rather give the credit to the whole team, because I think that this was just such a team effort in terms of changing the way we played, right? Like the reason that Kazi is able to pop off on Jinx and deal 45% of our team's damage or something like that in game 2 is because the whole team has put in the work to learn how to play the game around Kazi, and Kazi has put in the work to learn how to shot call around, like, force the team to play around him, right? And that's something that I'm really proud of, is that we've learned how to hand off to different individuals in a game. So yeah, I think everyone did an amazing job in terms of their work and preparation. On the day, there were some things that surprised me. Like I think Yoyo was just unbelievably aggressive, considering that this is his first ever game on stage. Like not even on the LEC stage, like
on a
ever
stage, yes,
on a stage, like, which is just unbelievable. The level of aggression that he came out with, considering that fact, is just crazy. And yeah, in general, like the atmosphere, the mentality, and the communication and the decisiveness was exactly what I wanted to see. Like I think that, we in all of these fights, we were like having fun and laughing after every fight, and then B, immediately switching into people literally screaming into their mics saying like, I am going to do this, go, look for this guy, like commanding each other, telling each other exactly what they're going to do. Like the communication flow today was just perfect, and that's like the MVP for me today, right? Is the preparation and the communication. Like as a coach, there's nothing that makes me happier than that.
All right, Mac. I was gonna ask you. Okay, so what should we focus on then next week, versus 2? Are we gonna have to look at the jungle matchup, the mid matchup, maybe the bot lane matchup? But I guess we have to look at every lane and keep our eyes peeled. And thank you so much for joining me, Mac, today. And again, congratulations.
Thank you very much.